Well, hello everyone. Welcome back. This is my 7th day of 10 days YouTube Live. And today's topic, we're going to talk about OET and ECFMG pathways. I try to make it simple for you because sometimes it can confuse people. So let's just get started. Please note that this would be the last one, the final part of your ECFMG certifications journey. And I highly recommend you to start early. So after you finish step one, you go on step two, and after you finish step two, move on to Occupational English Test. And once that's done, you should go ahead and apply to one of these six pathways. And the reason is because sometimes it will take time. It will take time to prepare those documents, and then you also rely on other people. So, for example, like a letter of good standing, if you require to have one, it might take time for your country, whatever the authority is, to prepare that letter of good standing. And it's kind of like outside of your control. So the only thing that you can control is yourself. So please prepare it ahead. Another reason to prepare it ahead is because you need to be ECMG certified in order to apply for residency. And that's kind of obvious, all right? You already know that. But there's one thing that's not so obvious, that in order for you to get into my eras where you have to fill your applications, you need to get an eras token first, which I will discuss on the ninth day of YouTube Live. You need to get the eras token first, and then the eras token start open in June, usually June every year there, and you cannot get the token if you're not ECFMG certified. So that's very important because you need time to prepare my ERAS applications. It's quite a complicated applications to do. It's asking. So you want to be ECFMG certified by June eh, on the year that where you are trying to apply. All right. So make sure you start early. Now let's talk about the OET exam. The basic info about Occupational English Test. So OET is Occupational English Test. Basically, everyone who is going to take one of the six pathways of ECFMG will need to take the Occupational English Test. Rare exceptions here, I think it's become, as the years gone by, it will be, the exception will be rarer, which is if you have done Step 2 CS in the past, then you don't need the six pathways, you don't need Occupational English Test, because technically the Step 2 CS serves as both Occupational English Test and the ECFMG 6 pathways. But interestingly, if you have done Step 2 CS and you fail, the only pathways you're going to use out of the six pathways would be pathway number 6. And you need to take the Occupational English Test because you use the pathways. Makes sense? So anytime you're going to use this one of the six pathways, then you have to do the Occupational English Test. There is no other exception. Now, test format for Occupational English Test, there are 4 parts. So first part is the listening part. Second part is the reading part, writing part, speaking part. If you see this, it does sounds like a TOEFL test or an IELTS, but it's kind of specific for medical professional. I don't want to go too much into the details here because, well, there is a free resource that you can use in the official website itself, and you can use that to learn. But basically, listening is 45 minutes. They're going to be a 3 parts. They're going to talk about, there's conversation between healthcare providers that you have to listen to, and then they're going to ask questions about it. There's conversations between nurses, and you have to pay attention and answer questions about it. And the third part is usually some form of presentation related to healthcare or guidelines of some sort, and you answer questions about it. Reading is also the same. It's going to be about hospital guidelines, research articles. Now, usually people don't have problem with listening and reading. Why? Like I told you, most doctors will have good Wernick, right? Will have good comprehension. But the problem with an IMGs, whoops, but the problem with IMG is the output, the Broca area. So the writing and speaking could be a problem for some people. So you really need to practice it. For writing, it's usually about referral letters. So they're gonna give you information about patients. Maybe the patient was just discharged and you need to summarize them and provide some information, and then put a referral to another healthcare professional or transferring care to another healthcare professionals. It's depend on the case. As speaking, there will be two scenarios. You will always be the doctor. You don't become the patient. And there'll be a task card as well, which shows the patients and what the patient's coming in for and what your job is. So for example, you need to explore about the patient's symptoms. You need to be listening actively and show empathy in some sort. Then it will be listed in the task card, which I think is very nice of them, because when I did my step to CS in the past, there is nothing. You go 12 stations and there's only short information about the patients. Mr. John come in for headache, that's it, or for confusion, that's it. You knock the door, you don't know what it's gonna be like inside, and you have to do everything. You have to listen and then talk and speak, and then listening actively, and then empathy, and then you step out, and or before you step out, you need to do physical exam, right? Step out, and you have to write notes. So I think this is has been, and on top of that, you have to come to the US in order to do it, and on top of that, it's way more expensive. So this is nice. This is really really good. A really great change. I don't think you need to spend too much time on studying for the UAT. Now, if you still need to study for it, I wouldn't say that it's just gonna be a walk in the park. So use the OET Intro to Medicine, which is in the website. It's completely free. It's not mine. It's in the official in the website. It's completely free. And if there is something that you're not really good at, you can go to YouTube. I found this is a great resource. Just type JOET for, choose which part you want. JOET for speaking or JOET for writing. You know, they will. This guy is great. He will explain everything that you need to know, and then you can practice the OET. Remember, the part that I think you really need to focus on is the writing and speaking, because those are the ROCA part that maybe some of the IMG is not really trained to. And so study it well so you can pass and you don't waste your money. Now let's move on to the ECFMG 6 pathways. So what is the pathways? Is this some form of another exam or some sort that we need to take? The name can be very confusing, but this is the idea. Okay, before the pandemic, we have step to CS, and the ECFMG has to find a way to assess your clinical and communication skills as physician, right? You have to find a way. And before, it was step 2 CS. It can assess your clinical communication skills with the patient because you see real people. Now, thanks to pandemic, it's all gone. They have to find a way to assess that. Now, the Occupational English Test only assess the English part of it, but does not really assess your ability to interact, do physical exam, etc. to the patients. Therefore, they replace it with a pathway. So I like to think of it like this. It's actually not 6 pathways, but 6 ways of how you can prove to ECFMG that you have adequate clinical and communication skills as doctor. That's it. That's what 6 pathways means. It's a 6 ways. You're going to choose one out of the 6 ways to prove to ECFMG you have adequate clinical communication skills. Right. Now, this I already talked about, so I'm going to skip this. I'm going to skip the slide. Now, I'm going to give you a simple breakdown of each pathway. So 6 pathways, right? So pathway 1 are applicants who hold unsupervised license in their home country. Pathway 2 are applicants who does not have the license to work, but already passed an OSCE. This is direct evaluations of your clinical skills conducted by the medical regulatory authority in that specific country. Pathway 3, 4, 5, applicants that does not qualify number 1 and number 2, but graduated from certain medical schools. Pathway 3 is medical school that's accredited by WFME, for example. Pathway 4 is etc. etc. So now you don't need to confuse yourself. You just need to know to click this. Well, you can click this link, but there will be a link in the ecfmg.org that if you go there, it will list you the whole table. What university use which pathway. They have the full breakdown there, so you don't have to figure out yourself. You just need to find the name of your medical school. It's pathway 3. Okay, good. You're at pathway 3. If you're 4, okay, good. You're pathway 4. Just like that. It's very simple. Now, pathway 6 is a special pathway, I would say. I will break it down after this. But pathway 6 is those who does not meet any of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or you fail step 2 CS. So let's say you're a graduated physician from your country, and you hold unsupervised license in your home country, maybe for 3 years, maybe for your 4 years. But in the past, you have failed step 2 CS. Maybe you haven't matched now, and that means you have to use pathway 6. All right. So either you fail step 2 CS or you don't meet any criteria above. Now I'm gonna show you the easy like path breakdown. So we start with the step 2 CS. If you have passed, you're done. You don't do occupational English test. You don't do the 6 pathways. You can be ECFMG certified. If you failed, you always have to go to pathway 6, and don't forget that actually means you have to do the occupational English test, right? Now, if you don't have step 2 CS, that means that then you ask, do you hold unsupervised license in your home country? If the answer is yes, you're gonna use pathway 1. If the answer is no, you're gonna look for the medical schools eligible for the pathways, and there will be a list of that in the website, whether you 2, 3, 4, or 5. Now, if you're not listed anywhere, then you're gonna go for a pathway 6. It's that simple. Now, this path or algorithm lets you know which pathways you're gonna use, and the ECFMG website has a very specific page for each pathways. Not exactly each pathways. 3, 4, 5 they group it together. 3, 4, 5 they group it together. But there is a specific page for is pathway 1, pathway 2, 3, 4, 5, and pathway 6. So once you figure out which pathway you're going to use, you have to go to that website, because I cannot list everything here. Why? Because the times change, the deadlines change, the documents that need to be uploaded going to change. So you just have to go to that particular page and make sure that you are on the right pathway, the dates are correct, and then the chronology or the steps that you need to do is appropriate. Okay, so you want to pay attention to these and that page. Confirm your eligibility. For example, license. You say you hold unsupervised license, right? But there have some criteria there, like for how many years. So there is some specific thing here that you need to read in that particular page. The documents that are required to be uploaded and how to upload it. Sometimes you need to be mailed. Sometimes the medical school needs to be the one that sent it. Sometimes the national agency needs to be the one that sent it. So these are the things that you want to pay attention, and then make sure you do the correct order. Is it submit first? You pay first? You upload the document first? Everything will be mentioned in that particular pathways. All right. Now, I'm gonna give you a little bit explanation on the summary. I did mention that ECFMG 6 pathways is 6 ways how to prove your ability to communicate and your clinical skills. So in pathway 1, you prove yourself by holding the license, like holding a unsupervised license, and then they will be required a letter of good standing from the National Medical Council or wherever your country from. That serves as a proof of your ability to communicate as a doctor. 1 second. Very dry. For pathway 2 is medical school in the area that provide OSCE. So there are countries that they do national OSCE that you have to pass. I believe one of them is the UK. I'm not really sure. But there are countries that has OSCE that you require to pass the national OSCE in order for you to grab the license. Now, even though you haven't grabbed the license yet, if you pass that OSCE that was conducted nationally, then that is the proof that you have the skills to be clinical skills, communication skills as a doctor. Now, if you don't have pathway 1 or 2, the pathway 3, 4, 5 are from medical schools that accredited by certain accreditations, like pathway 3 is WFME. Now, the idea of pathway 3, 4, 5, the proof is provided by your medical school. So your medical schools the ECFMG will send some form of a mini CX, and then your authority from the medical school will have to fill that and said that yes, this student has passed our OSCE, for example, or our mini CX evaluations, and then send that through the portal to ECFMG. If the medical school has the portal, electronic medical portal. If not, then I believe they have to mail it. So you see, these are the ideas of how you prove yourself. So right, pathway 1, the proof is that you hold that license and the letter of good standing. Pathway 2, the proof is that you pass the OSCE from the national OSCE. That's pathway 3, 4, 5. The proof comes from the medical school that attests your ability for your communications and clinical skills. Now, what about pathway 6? So I'm going to talk a little bit about pathway 6. So pathway 6 means that it's not going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your medical school is not listed in the list in the SCFMG provided, and or you failed step 2 CS, right? So you need to do pathway 6. So what the pathway 6 looks like, it's basically, I would describe it as, it's like you conducting your own step 2 CS, really, because what you need to do is you need to have 6 clinical encounter and find physicians, give them the form, and have the physician evaluate how you encounter the patients, like talking, take history, do physical exam, and all of those. Give you the score, hopefully you pass, and then the physician will send it to the ECFMG. Now, they're looking for 6 clinical encounters, and one physician can only assess 2 clinical encounters. So if you do the math, that means you need 3 physicians, right? So there will be 3 physicians, each of them assess 2 clinical encounters. They write down and send it to the ECFMG. It's like, that's why I said it's like conducting your own step 2 CS. But the difference is you can do it anywhere. You don't have to do it in the US. It can be the doctors in your own home country. You can use your home country. You can do that as well. All right. Now, thing is, you need to find yourself the evaluator, and there is some rules. There are many rules about the evaluator, but I'm listed one of them, which is they cannot be compensated because it's not fair. I mean, think about it. It's like bribing, right? If you actually compensate, hey, I'm gonna give you this. Yeah, you got what I mean. So they cannot be compensated. And there is another rule that they have to hold license for certain years. Now, these rules might change. It could be 3 years, 5 years. You have to check the ECFNG website for that. Then you will provide their name and email address when you submit the application. So this is how it works, okay? So you're going to find 3 physicians that agree to evaluate you for free, and you get their email address. Because when you submit the applications, you will have to put the physician's name with their email address, and you have to pay the application fee. You see, this is what I mean when I said back that you have to pay attention of which order. Upload first, pay first, submit first, which one? In this case, you want to find the physician first, and then get their email address, and then you want to do the application, and you have to pay first of the application fee. Only then the physicians will receive the email from the ECFMG, and then they're going to be taught to how to access the portal, and there will be some form of a PDF, basically a file that they can print out about the mini CX evaluation, things that they need to evaluate when they evaluate you. All right. Now, once you pay, you have 15 days to complete your mini CX evaluations. So the physician has to submit the result within 15 days of your application. So imagine this. So you got the physicians, let's say Dr. John, he agreed to evaluate you. You submit the application, you have paid the fee, right? And then the next day, you agree with Dr. John, you're going to see 2 clinical encounters, and Dr. John's going to evaluate you. So you did it, evaluate it. Okay, good. Thank you, Dr. John. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Please submit immediately. But Dr. John forget to upload your mini CX evaluation. 16 days has passed. I don't know what's going to happen afterward. So it's already beyond deadline. Maybe you need to redo it again and submit the application again, pay again. I actually I don't have the knowledge about that. But you see, it's not about when you do it. It's about when your evaluator submit your mini CX evaluation. It has to be within 15 days. So you really need to find a physician that you trust, that really willingly to do it as soon as possible, because they have to access the portal. There is some uh, technical issues here, that can confuse people. So you really need someone that's willing to do that for you, and it has to be for free. So think carefully. All right, that's about it for today's discussion. It's very short. It's just a kind of like informational session here. The main point of this is basically you want to do it as soon as possible. Once you're done with step 2 CK, please do your occupational English test. And once that's done, please do the ECFMG pathways. So there's so many documents that need to be uploaded. Pay attention to the deadlines. Do it as soon as possible. You need to be ECFMG certified before June on the year that you want to apply for the match. All right. And I welcome if you have any questions. Oh yeah, while you're here, I almost forgot to mention I have these two gifts for you, right? I always mention this every time I do a live stream. One of them is my USCE Essentials for IMG, which is available for free, and the other one is my USMLE Test Taking Strategies, available for free. I'm pretty sure if you watch those, you will it will boost your USMLE score instantly, right? If there is no more questions, now there is one last thing I would like to mention to this, as I mentioned this as a tip. We have ChatGPT now. So ChatGPT has been very, very helpful, not only to study for USMLE, but also for documents like this. The documents can be confusing. Like you have the whole things that you need to read and make sure you understand it right, the dates are right, and so forth. So what you can do is, if you are not sure about what you read, and because of the language, etc., sometimes a formal language can really, really confuse us. You can utilize ChatGPT. Just copy paste those page, and then you ask specific questions. That is how I actually figure out that the 76 pathways require you to submit the application, to submit and pay the fee first before you get the email address. Because it would be easier if you can imagine that, right? It would be easier for you to actually have the physicians evaluate you first, right? And get their email. Well, evaluate you first, complete the mini CX evaluation, and then upload them to ECFMG. Then you submit and pay them, so you don't have to deal with that deadlines. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. You have to put the name. They will not receive the mini CX and access to the portal until they have the until you pay and submit the application and you pay the fee. So I figured it's kind of confusing in the explanation in that page. I utilize ChatGPT. I just copy paste and then ask, "Is this mean this? Do I get it right?" And then the ChatGPT can really confirm, "Yes, you're right. This is how it works. You have to submit application first, pay it, and then they evaluate you, and you have 15 days to." So you can do that for any other pathways. You can do that with a lot of stuff actually about eras. If there's any articles that you confuse, utilize that. It's a new era now. New era. Okay. If there is no more questions, then we can end here. Tomorrow is actually going to be quite an exciting topic, because I'm going to teach you healthcare system in the US. The US healthcare system is complex, and it was surprising that there's not a lot of people actually really talk about it. I'll explain it tomorrow, because usually when people talk about US healthcare system and you look in Google, YouTube, etc., they always talk about insurance. There is nothing to do with insurance. We are taking care of patients. So that's what I'm going to break it down tomorrow. All right. Well, if there is no more questions, then hope you all have a good night. I'll see you again tomorrow. And again, if there's any questions, you can put the questions in the comments down below. I will be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Have a good night. Bye.